Welcome to the Rewards Master Live. This is my 8th live stream, I believe, and I'm trying to do them on Sunday afternoons now. So this would be pretty much the regular time that I'm attempting to do these. So welcome to everybody who's here. I think that we've got a couple who've logged on so far. What really helps is if you go ahead and put in the comments that you're here, because here on StreamYard, you can't see exactly how many people are actually in the live stream. So that's very, very helpful to me, and I appreciate it. Cesar, Joel is here. All right, great to see you. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the meetup in Puerto Rico that's coming up in November, and I know you'll be there because, well, you kind of the guy who's making it all happen. So RC says, hey, RC, thank you for being a channel member. I appreciate that. Those of you who support me in that way, it means a lot. Only 0311 says, hey, Joe. Cognito ergo sum says hello. And Cesar says loud and clear. I guess that means that you can hear me and all things are working in that. Okay. So let me pull up my little chart for today. As I've said in my previous live streams, I'm trying to develop some sort of pattern as to what kind of topics I'll cover every week. So these are kind of the 6 things, and I'm going to try to keep live stream at an hour or just under an hour because that helps me with my schedule on Sundays, and hopefully it'll make it concise and to the point. But the weekly topics I'm hoping to address are new developments, and that's just things in the points and miles world that have just come out in the last week or two. Restaurant rewards, I like to talk about that. I don't think hardly any others in the space really discuss restaurant rewards, which is the reason I want to emphasize it. It's just really odd to me that it gets so little attention, because restaurant rewards are some of the most valuable rewards, and they almost always can be triple or quadruple dipped with other types of points earnings. So they're just gravy on the top, so to speak. So I always like to mention some of those deals, some of those programs just briefly in the live stream. And then the centerpiece is kind of the big thing I want to talk about. And today's will be a little bit of a hot take, I think, for a lot of people. So I hope you'll hang around for that. I talk about upcoming travel. Today, I'm going to focus a little bit about Puerto Rico, as I mentioned to Cesar a few minutes ago. And then reward deal of the day, that's just something that could be from really any area of points and miles. And so we discussed that. And then finally, status stuff. I'm a status flyer. I know that doesn't matter to everybody, but that's why I left it towards the end, because I think for some people that is a topic that's neglected sometimes. So that's what we're going to get to. All right, don't forget to log in and just kind of tell me you're here, post it in the comments. Also, if you would hit the like button, that helps us to have more people to be able to see it. YouTube sends it out through their algorithm and more people can be involved. All right, so when we start off today, we're going to look at some new developments. Now, the new development that I talked about last week was the JetBlue promo. And when I first read about this, I was excited. My wife was kind of excited for me. She's like, you should do that. That would be so much fun. Because what they're offering is, if you go to 25 different destinations, places that JetBlue flies before the end of this year, then you get a big chunk of 350,000 miles with JetBlue. But that's not really the biggest kind of incentive of it all. The big incentive of it all is you get 25 years of mosaic status. 25 years. And it's like, wow. Well, I was evaluating it and I thought, well, I could do that. The problem for me is that I don't live anywhere near one of JetBlue's major airports. And they really only have 2. They do have some in and out of Orlando, but the big airports that you could make this happen from are JFK or Boston, because they fly a bunch of little places from those places. But if you live in the middle of the country like I do, I live in the South. So I would have to either go to Atlanta or to Nashville, which those are drivable for me. I could do those. But the problem is that when I started putting pen to paper and actually looking up flights and trying to build itineraries, it was really rough because it only counts when you're going to a new destination. So what I would have to do is I would have to fly from Nashville or Atlanta to JFK, Boston, and then start flying from there. So that would mean hotel rooms while I'm there. That would mean flights back that wouldn't count towards the promo. So back to JFK, back to Boston. So I'd probably have to burn my points with American or Delta, United, somebody to get back. So I'd have to reposition. And when I put pen to paper, it was just going to be crazy big time expensive. So, and not only that, take a lot more time than I thought it would. I thought I could do it in like 2 or 3 weekends of just a few days, but it's not going to happen. So the bang for the buck for me with 350,000 points, that's a lot of points, but I'm not sure I wouldn't spend 100 or 150,000 just on those positioning flights, a whole bunch of time, money, or points in hotels. So does the mosaic status matter? Well, my wife pointed out, she said, well, it'd be cool to have status that would maybe work on United. She said, but you fly United like once or twice a year. Does it matter that much? And, you know, it really would be just to do it. To get the 350,000 points is nothing to sneeze at, but I'd spend quite a bit getting it, quite a bit of money just to say I've got mosaic status for 25 years and probably not use it much. So my decision is now not going to do it. I'm going to save my points for something else that'll be a lot of fun for us. So not going to do it. Tell me down in the comments, have you thought about this? Have you considered doing the JetBlue promo? Do you know anybody who's doing it? I think that maybe Nick from the Frequent Miler guys is going to do it, but even Greg said he wasn't going to do it in their last stream that they did concerning this. So, but Nick lives in the Northeast, can get to New York pretty easy. So it kind of makes more sense. So let me know if any of you have considered that. Okay, let's see. It looks like we have about 9 folks watching. I think 4 have hit the like button. If you would hit the like button, that helps out a lot. All right. Don't see any. Oh, Ian M says, howdy. Welcome, Ian. Glad to have you here with us. Glad to have you here. So did I miss anybody else there? I think not. All right. So new developments. So the other big promo that came out, and I think it's trying to maybe copycat the SAS promo of 1 million miles. Remember last year you had to, I think, fly 15 partner airlines, and I didn't even consider that one because I don't fly much in SkyTeam, and SkyTeam flights, I mean, you're going to have to go all over. I'm flying in flights in China and everything, and so that one didn't even appeal to me. But when this one came out, I was like, we've flown on Turkish business class before, had a fantastic time. Sometimes you can find pretty good miles deals on Turkish, not as good as they used to be since they devalued, but sometimes not bad at all. So I considered this one for a minute, and then I dug into it, and this is kind of what I found out. So the rules of it, from the way I understand it, and if I get any of these wrong, correct me if some of you know better, but it's fly to all 6 continents. Now, of course, not Antarctica. You can't fly to Antarctica, but yeah, it would be basically you have to fly to North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Eurasia, which would be, I guess that's what they call Australia. And what did I mention? Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, North America, South America. So those 6. But that wouldn't be so bad because, you know, you could just do a quick around the world flight, probably spend a few $1,000s, maybe get that done. It'd be awful in economy class, but it could maybe be done. But then they have this requirement: must begin or transit through Istanbul. So, or Turkey, I guess they say, but that means Istanbul because that's where most of their flights originate. So that means that Istanbul doesn't count. So if I flew from the United States to Istanbul, that first flight wouldn't count. Now the one coming home would, but that one wouldn't count towards it. So you basically got to base up in Istanbul, and then you got to fly out places and then try to fly back through Istanbul. So if you wanted to fly to Sydney, that one would count, but then you'd have to find a way to fly back to somewhere else in Europe, transit through Istanbul, then probably fly through Istanbul again to get to Africa. And then you've got the problem of now getting to Asia. And I mean, it's going to be a lot. So I thought, well, maybe it can still be done. But this was kind of the big kicker. All travel must be paid in cash. In other words, you can't use any of your Turkish miles. You can't transfer any miles in. But when I start doing the math on that, even in economy, it's running a minimum of $4,000 to $5,000. And if you start doing some business class, which I don't want to fly in economy the 14 hours or whatever it is to Australia from Istanbul. I mean, and what about to South America? I mean, you can't just hop on a flight from the United States to South America. You got to go to Istanbul and then go to South America. Those two, the Australia and the South America, those ones really, really, really kind of sunk it for me. Business and economy are both eligible, but I mean, just how much you want to spend doing it. And all flights booked and flown by October 27th. So you don't have as long as with that JetBlue promo. You can really only do this through October 27th. And not only do you have to book them all by then, you got to fly them all by then. So that's pretty much packing in a lot of long flights on Turkish Airlines. And here's kind of the big reason. Even if I was tempted to do this, Turkish miles expire in 3 years, no matter what. It's not like Avianca. You know, Avianca expire in 1 year, but about every 6 months, I transfer over 1,000 points. It refreshes it. I'm all good. That's true with Air France. That's true with Air Canada. It's true with a lot of them, but not Turkish. So you're going to get your million miles, but you're going to have to find a way to use them in 3 years. Or if you forget, or if you just can't work it out. And Turkish miles aren't the easiest to use for good value. So that to me was all a tough thing. So my verdict on it, even though I considered it for a hot minute, I'm not going to try this Turkish promo either, even though, man, I was tempted by it a little bit. All right, let's go to comments for just a quick second. Let's see how many are in here. We got 15 watching. That's awesome. Thank you, everybody who's here. Tampa Travel says, I'm in. JK, a no on this one too. Okay, yeah, not going to do this one either. So that's the thing. The JetBlue in this one, I mean, I guess if a person totally had free time and a bunch of disposable money, then it might be worth it. But then you better be sure that you're going to be able to use all those million Turkish miles in the 3-year time frame. All right, Ron Byrne says, I watched your Air France Premium Economy video, and I'm thinking about upgrading my flight from Paris to Raleigh-Durham. All right, yeah. I will say, we've only flown, and I think I mentioned this in the video, we've flown 3 times in what you call premium economy, once on United, once on Virgin, and once on Air France. And it was a really good experience. I'm a pretty tall guy. I'm 6'2", and I don't sleep well sitting up at all. And I found that on that Air France, I mean, everything was nice. It was, and I get upgraded quite a bit in the United States, or at least I have through the years. And I think it's better than any domestic first-class product in premium economy. It was good. It was only 35,000 points, and I think maybe $200 in taxes and fees. It was really great. So Ron Byrne, I think it's a good move. I mean, if you want better comfort, it's definitely so much better than the back of the plane. And I thought the Air France Premium Economy was better slightly than the United. It was pretty good too, but it was better than Virgin. And Virgin's, it was fine. It was better than the back, but the Air France was good. So yeah, man, go for it. I think you'd probably enjoy it a lot. So thank you for watching that video and being here today. All right, we've got 14 watching at this time, so that's good. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Now let's move on to the restaurant rewards of the day. This one I wanted to talk about because it's really popular. I mean, a lot of people like Chipotle. I eat at Chipotle quite a bit, and it you know, they've got good food, but their rewards program, it's so-so. And the reason I don't just gush over their rewards program is the return is great, is okay. It's kind of standard. 7% is what I have found to be kind of close to the bottom when it comes to restaurant rewards. But This one's harder to triple dip. So if you use a card, I always use my City Prestige. I get 5 points per dollar, City thank you points on dining. But I love to use things like the Mileage Plus X app, which gives extra at major chains. It gives extra United miles on top of your credit cards and on top of any restaurant rewards. So it's a great way to triple dip. The problem with Chipotle is they almost always give either half a mile per dollar or 1 mile per dollar, which is bad. I mean, there's a lot of restaurants that give 4 and 5 miles per dollar on United through the Mileage Plus X app. So this isn't one of my favorite, but I wanted to talk about it because it's a really popular restaurant that people like to eat at. So the way that their system works is you get 10 points per dollar on spending. So if you spend $10, then you're going to get 100 points. It's 1,625 points for an entree. Now, there are cheaper things. With almost all of these restaurant reward programs, there'll be a lot lower point value if you want to just get a drink or if you want to just get chips and salsa or guacamole or something. But I always figure my points value based upon an entree. About what am I going to have to spend to get a full meal? So for them to get a burrito or a burrito bowl or anything like that, it's 1,625 points for the entree. And the redemption value on that is $10.70. That's what it costs. I looked it up on the app. If I were just to pay for it and go in and pick it up, it's $10.70 redemption value. And that comes out to a 6.58% return on your spending. 6.58%. So not quite 7%, which is kind of the bottom. And then this is one that is going to be true of a lot of restaurant programs. Unlike credit card points, unlike even those Mileage Plus X that become United miles, restaurant reward points expire. And this is the major downside is you've got to be conscientious of your points with these programs. That's why for a long time, I did a whole bunch of different restaurants and I had the apps all on my phone and I was good. But the problem was I was losing out on points because I couldn't go to all of those restaurants that often to keep the points refreshed. So what I have done now is there's about 4 or 5 of them that I use frequently. And those are the ones that I track and keep up with because the points do expire. And when I looked on my app today, I haven't done Chipotle in a while. I had 1,500 points expire. That means I was just barely away from a free entree. And now those points are completely gone. So that is a major downside you've got to consider. So I recommend if you're going to use restaurant rewards, just pick the 2 or 3 or 4 that you use, that you're going to frequent those places and go all in on those. Because if you try to track just dozens of them, I can tell you from my own personal experience, learn from my mistake, you've got to really be on top of it. And it becomes a lot of effort because most places, the points do ultimately expire. So do any of you have any restaurants that you use their rewards? I'd love to hear because I'm always looking for new ones that might move into my rotation if they're good. So put that down in the comments if you would. All right, we got 16 folks in here watching. Good to have you with us. Don't forget to hit the like button. Appreciate that a lot. Okay, let's see. Oh, awesome. RC, channel member, and a $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I don't get a lot of those, so I get really pumped when I get something like that. So thank you so much, RC. I appreciate it. $1.99 super chat. That's fantastic. All right. Johnny Jones says, any news on the City Elite yet? As far as I know, no. I haven't seen anything out there as of now. I'm not, honestly, Johnny, I'm not really pushing for it or looking for it anytime soon. I hope they just take as long as they want because I have the City Prestige and I am terrified that what they're going to do when they come out with that, they're going to do like they did with that Rewards Plus card that I also have. By the way, I saw a data point that you might be able to call and get them not to change over the City Rewards Plus. I'll get back with y'all on that because I'm going to call this week on that. But I'm afraid they're going to make me change my City Prestige card. And City Prestige is just, yeah. It's awesome. I love it. 5 points per dollar dining, 5 points per dollar on airfare, 3 points on other travel and hotels. I mean, it's been fantastic. And good travel credit, a great fourth night free benefit on hotels. And so they make me change. And so I haven't heard anything about it, but for me, that's kind of no news is good news. But I know that could be different for others. But if I do hear anything about it, I'll try to keep you updated. Thank you for the question. Ron Byrne, I use Chick-fil-A rewards. I get a regular freebies and use the points for free items. Yeah, okay. I have a lot of Chick-fil-A. Well, I don't. My spouse does. Her job, she has to buy lunches for different organizations. And sometimes she's buying 100 Chick-fil-A lunches or something, or 50 or whatever. I don't know exactly how many. But I know we have an almost unlimited supply of Chick-fil-A points, and it is awesome. So I don't really keep track of those because we just earn them. But yeah, they do have a really good rewards program. So maybe I'll feature that in one of the future ones. Thank you, Ron Byrne, for pointing that out. That's great. Let's see. We got 17 watching. Again, RC channel member. Give me a $1.99 super chat. Don't get a lot of those, so I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, and to everyone out there, it was last week that I made it to 1,000 subscribers, and the channel's growing good because now I'm at 1,150 in just a few days. So thank you all for your support. I appreciate it very, very much, and the kind comments really encourage me. Johnny Jones, Chick-fil-A and Chipotle are okay, but eat there every now and then, including Five Guys. I avoid the headache and just pay with the Amex Gold. Yeah, I mean, you get $10 back when you do that. I've done that at Five Guys too. But I'll tell you this, at Five Guys, don't order a large French fry if you're by yourself because you'd be swimming in fries. I mean, it's crazy how many French fries they give, but they are good. They are real good. Okay, Ron Byrne, there are also people have had done cent per point for Chick-fil-A, and the ice cream cone is the best cent per point. Okay, good to know. Ice cream cone, best deal in restaurant rewards and points and miles. Got it. That's a great data point. I appreciate it. All right, so now we get to the centerpiece. I'm kind of getting known to be a person that has a lot of hot takes, and I think that this one's going to be one today. So be kind in your comments, but disagree if need be. However, I watch a lot, and before I ever got into doing a channel, I was consuming tons and tons and tons of credit card points and miles content on YouTube and other places. And I've been doing the points and miles thing for years. I mean, years and years myself, because I flew for work. So I had status and I was earning lots and lots of points with my credit cards. And so I had the Sapphire Reserve when it first came out, 9 years ago, and earned a lot of points there. I had the United Club card back when people didn't even know about those things. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I just see some trends. And for me, you notice I don't put every now and again, but I don't put very many like referral things and things like that, because to me, this is my hobby and I love it. I think it's the greatest hobby in the world. And I want to really evaluate, because it's different for so many different people. And there's really not a one size fits all kind of staple advice that can be given. And so that's kind of what led me down this road of these thoughts. Points for everyday spending. So a lot that's discussed about credit cards in the points and miles game is what the great cent per point value is. And I focus on that a ton. I mean, like I just said, I have the Citi Prestige card. I don't ever want to get rid of it. I get 5 on dining. I get 5 on airfare. And then I use the custom cash to get 5 points per dollar on my gas and 5 points per dollar at home improvement stores. And then I try to use rotating categories on other cards. And I'm a maximizer. So I'm not trying to be hypocritical about this, but I have pretty high spend. And it's almost like there's a real push sometimes for these cards. This got the best multiplier. This got the best multiplier. And then sometimes it's marketed to folks who I wonder, how much spending do they have? Because if you start to look at the math and break it down, when you're not spending a lot of money, 1% or 2% is not very much. And it's like, why should, if I wasn't a person who spent very much, why would I even care so much what the multipliers are? And that's kind of where this is coming from today. And so on this first slide, I have principle. And this is just a general principle, not so much about points and miles, but I'll show you how I think they're connected. Life is cheaper for those further along in life: the rich, the successful, the influential, and the disciplined. Now, think about that for a minute. Life is cheaper. It's actually cheaper when you have more money. And now, understand, I'm not meaning they have cheaper tastes. I mean, life may be more expensive when you have more money, success, influence, or discipline, because you want to buy a Porsche instead of a Prius. Okay, I get that. I'm not meaning that. I'm meaning apples to apples. The same things are often less expensive for people who have more means or more background or more influence or whatever. They're farther along in life than they are for people who would kind of sometimes need it to be cheaper. Okay, case in point, if you were to go and you need to buy some furniture, if you have an 820 credit score and you walk in, they're going to shop different places, and you probably with that are going to be able to get 0% interest. But if you have a 450 or 500 or 6, I don't even know what the lowest credit score is, but if you have a really low credit score, you might have to go to one of those rent to own places, and you're going to pay super high interest, like 30, 40%. And then on top of that, you're going to pay an inflated price for the product. I mean, we understand that. You say, yeah, but that person has low credit. They're not a good credit risk. That's true. But the principle's still true. The person who probably has less disposable income is getting a way worse deal. That's just a principle. And so we see that all over. And I just put some examples here on the screen. Bank bonuses. Guys will advertise, hey, you really need to check out. I know there's RJ has that Run on the Bank channel. That's kind of fun. I don't do many of those, but I think it's kind of cool what he does. And bank bonuses, a lot of them are, yeah, you can get a $750 bank bonus with, I don't know, Capital One, whoever. But you often have to deposit $100,000. So guess what? People who have $100,000 can make money that people who don't have $100,000 can make. I mean, they just can't do it. So there is just kind of evidence of what we're talking about. Purchases with great credit. I mean, if you have great credit, you can get much lower interest. You just can. And that's a lot less expensive overall. Earned interest on purchases that could have been made with cash. What I mean by that is that, like, if you go to buy a car and you got $40,000 in your bank account to write a check for the car, and then they say, well, we have financing 0% interest for 12 months. Well, most people who need to finance a car can't finance it for 12 months because they can't make a $4,000 a month payment. But if you got $40,000 in the bank, then you can make that. So you know what you can do? Yeah, I'll finance it for 12 months, 0% interest. You throw your $40,000 into a money market account or a high interest, and you're making money back and not costing you any more because you have $40,000 already. Cheaper services due to connections. Now, what I mean by that is that a person, that's why I included not just rich and successful, I said influential. Okay, I've been in some organizations before. So let's say that you're in the Civitan Club or the Kiwanis Club, or you're heavily involved in your church and maybe know a lot of people there or whatever it may be. You've got connections. And that means that when your air conditioner breaks, you may have somebody who owns an air conditioning company or somebody who does it on the side or whatever, and they'll come and do it, and they won't charge you the same because of your influence and your connections. What about bargains in exchange for promotions or goodwill? I've known people who have very successful businesses, and sometimes they get better deals on stuff because they just, whoever they're negotiating with They just want to be good to them because they want to be thought well by this influential person in town, or they want to be promoted. Well, if I give him a good deal, he might send people to me for business as referrals, whatever it may be. Reduced interest on down payments and PMI. Did you know that doctors often don't have to have anything down and often get no PMI? So, most of us, if we don't want to have to pay PMI, that's private mortgage insurance on a house, we have to put 20% down. Not certain professions. Certain professions get to put 0% down, get the lowest interest rate, and they get no PMI. Just because it says MD or whatever it may be at the end of their name. And so this is a basic principle, and I think it's observable everywhere, that life is cheaper for those who actually could afford it anyway. And it's more expensive for people who need it more. And so we're talking rich, successful, influential, disciplined. Now, tell me what you think. Am I right about those things? Is that in general life, and I'm going to connect it to credit cards, I promise, but are those general principles correct? Do you see that in your life as well? Let me see. No more comments as of right now. 12 folks watching, please hit the like button if you can. Let me move on unless we have more comments that jump in here. Okay, so that moves me to the second principle that builds on that one. And that is that the same is true with credit cards. Okay, people with more resources can get farther with their credit cards. They just can do more with them. So high spending, and I just kind of mathed out some examples here. High spending equals high rewards. So let's imagine that a person only spends $500 a month on their credit cards, maybe a college student or somebody very, very early in life. $5,000 on their credit cards, and they get 2 points per dollar. Well, that's $120 a year. Now let's compare the person who spends $125,000 on their card at that same two points per dollar. That's $2,500 a year. And you say, yeah, but that's just basic, simple math. Okay, I agree. Spend more, you get more. It's still the same ratio. But now let's start breaking it down here. High earners, spenders, can redeem points for higher cent per point redemptions due to cash flow. Now, what I mean by that is that a person who's got the resources to spend $125,000 a year on their credit cards probably has the resources to, on some of their redemptions, just pay cash, oh, wow, that's a 1.2 cent per point redemption to fly Delta. I'll just pay for it. It's $500. Big deal. That's what a person would say that spends $125,000 on their credit cards. So that person, because of their resources, can cherry pick, can pick and choose what redemptions they want to redeem. So that same 125,000, if they're averaging 3 cents per point, and they probably can because you're going to have a lot more card options that you're using, at 3 cents per point, that's 375,000 points from their spending redeemed at 4 cents per point. So if they're only purchasing maybe really good hotel redemptions, and sometimes with Hyatt, you can get close to that. And if you do really high-end hotels, sometimes you can get close to that. But especially with airline miles, I mean, you can get 4 cents per point often on business and first-class tickets. That 125,000 at 3 points per dollar and 4 cent per point redemption comes out to a $15,000 value. Well, what percentage is 15,000 of 125,000? You're getting a big percentage back, right? I mean, 12,500 would have been 10%. You're getting over 10% back on your spend in overall value. So the conclusion that I'm wanting to make on this is that card earnings only matter for higher spending, really. Now, think about that. And I'm not saying that people that don't have high spend shouldn't have credit cards. I'm not meaning that at all. Through discipline, I think they can do really well. But I mean, when we're constantly pushing, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this, really, who is that really at the end of the day, when you math it out, who does that matter for? Because, yeah, I've heard it said before, well, what's really the difference between people when they defend like the Chase Freedom Unlimited card? Well, it gets 1.5 cents, 1.5 points per dollar on every dollar spent. But, yes, others like the Blue Business Plus can get 2 points. But what's really the difference? Okay, I agree. But what's really the difference between 1.5 and 1? It's the same thing. So when you break it down, the earnings on the card, in other words, how many cents per point you're getting, they matter that much when you're not spending much. And the more and more you spend, the more it extrapolates out. So low spenders, this is the conclusion. They win through sign-up bonuses. They just do. I mean, low spenders, if they really want to beat the banks, how you do it is you sign up for cards, you keep them a year, cash out the points, sign up for cards, keep them a year, and so forth and so on. Because if you're only spending, all you're really going to have the spend for is just to get the minimum spend to get your bonuses. So what does it matter what the earnings on that card are if all you're spending is to get your bonuses? So I just find it as an interesting aspect of kind of the promotion of all of this. All right, I think I got a few comments here. Let's see who all's in here. We got 18 watching. If you would hit the like button, I think 9 have liked it so far, so that really helps me to get more people to watch. So I appreciate it a lot. Okay, QC Man 2000, $1.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, QC Man. I appreciate that a lot. You and RC, you guys get the gold award today. I don't get a lot of those, so I really appreciate every single one of them. Thank you so much for the support. Okay, Kagito Ergo Sum says, my parents always used to say, it takes money to make money. That's my exact point, is that when we're looking at life in general, but particularly in this credit card world, it's just like anything else financial. The people who can least afford it, it's more expensive for them. The people who can most afford it, it's cheaper for them. And so the way that I think people at that lower end of the spend spectrum win is they win through the sign-up bonuses. That's the real trick. That's the real key. Now, do I think that how much you earn on the cards matters? Yeah, when you spend a lot of money. So if you're spending $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month, then it starts to really add up. But most people out there, probably the most important thing is just what are the sign-up bonuses? Because their spending is just going to get them to that point. Okay, Mr. Cool 354 says, with Built Mesa, you could make the case to turn highest monthly spending into your point pipeline for low spenders. 100% with low spending, you need to be super strategic. CCC versus AG. Yes. Now, I do think you're right. I mean, the Built card, I use the Built card all the time because I love Alaska points. So I think it's great. I don't rent though, so I can't use it for that. I'm considering Mesa, and I'm going to do a lot of content probably coming up on Mesa. But the hard thing for me with Mesa, I think their system's really neat, and I don't even mind their transfer partner, especially now that they added Airplan. That sounds great. But the spending $1,000 a month, because when you are a higher spender, then now you got to weigh, what do I spend the money on? Is that one worth it or not? So that's what I'm going to have to look at. But I agree, that is Built changed the game for low spenders because they have to spend on rent. And then hopefully they're going to come out with mortgages. I'm going to look at how that is, because that really changes it all. The metrics are shifted in that regard. Thank you, Mr. Cool. That is an awesome observation. Awesome observation. Okay, we have 21 in here watching now. Thank you again, RC and QC Man, for those super stickers. Like I said, I appreciate that so much and your support. And so as we move on from this, what is the point I want to make? So the principle of this is redemption values matter more than earnings, especially for low spenders. Okay. So in this, the other thing about this that I've observed over and over is there's a lot of discussion in the space about, well, redemption values don't matter as much as earnings. And if you don't believe me, just listen to all the times people are like, and this is funny because it seems like a lot of folks in the space will say things like, just enjoy your experience. A cent per point doesn't matter, and so forth and so on. And they say a lot of people are always talking about cent per point. That's not what I find. I find that most people are saying cent per point doesn't matter. I mean, that seems like the consensus opinion. But when you do the math, cent per point matters. It matters really, from my estimation, really a lot more than how much you're earning on the card. Because look at this, $60,000. I just made up some numbers, did some math. At 2 cents per dollar spent, 2 points at least per dollar spent. That's 120,000 points per year at a 1.2 cent per point redemption. So that's transferring your points to Delta. Now, I tried to do some research. What transfer partner gets the most transfers from American Express? That information, as far as I can find, is not available anywhere. They don't release that. But if I had to bet, it's Delta. Because Delta, or maybe Hilton, or maybe, I don't know, one of their other partners that's very well, Marriott. I mean, because those are names people know, they're comfortable with. And a lot of people fly Delta, which I love Delta. I'm not dogging Delta, but we all know they have a low cent per point value as far as redemptions go. So that same 60,000 points at 2 points per dollar is 120,000 points at 1.2 cents per point, $1,440 in value. Okay. For 60,000 bucks, 1,440. But if you get a 5 cent per point redemption, which you can do through flying business and first class, I mean, it's not hard to get a 5 cent per point redemption if you are shopping and looking, and if you're flexible with your time. That's a $6,000 value. That's a big difference. Now, let's take that same $60,000 spent and say you can get four points per dollar. That's 240,000 points. Now, this is why I think this is really important. At a 1.2 cent per point redemption, you're only getting $2,880 value. That's less than half of what you would have got with less points earned. So we're saying that at 60,000 points, if you get a 5 cent per point redemption, $60,000 spent at only 2 points per dollar, you're getting double, as if you got double the amount of points per dollar, 4 points per dollar, and you still only got the 1 cent per point redemption. So which wins? Earnings or redeeming? You see, to beat the higher redemption, your earnings would almost have to be 9 cents per point if you're just cashing out your points for 1.2, just for Delta flights. So the question is, do redemption values matter? And I think this plays back into my previous assertion, and that is that you see people who spend more, have more resources to be able to buy their cheap flights out of cash, or maybe buy their hotel rooms that are cheap out of cash and save their points. They're going to get a lot more value, because that cent per point really does matter in the math. So let's go back to the comments. I'm curious what everybody thinks about this, because I know it's a little bit of a hot take. There are 23 people in here watching. Thank you all so much for being here. Please hit the like button. We have 12 likes so far, so that really helps. Okay. Rodrigo Mendez says there's only so many sign-up bonuses you can get, though, with banks tightening down. That's true. Now, in the past, it was easier, and they're tightening down. But Rodrigo, in my opinion, and I'm definitely not a prophet, I could be wrong about this, but it seems like it goes in cycles. So they're tightening down. but I think they'll lose customers and then they'll loosen up. That seems to be the cycle. Tell me if you agree with that or not, but it seems to be. So it might be a lean year or two of not as many sign-up bonuses, but then it seems like, I mean, it's still a very competitive marketplace and they're going to need customers. So, okay, let's see. QC man, go back up here. I'd agree with you on Delta and Hilton for most, quote, normal people. Yeah. So that's what people transfer their points to, and they get low cent per point value. So, I mean, I can't prove that because American Express does not put that information out there, but it seems like a logical conclusion. Okay, Ron Byrne, I think it also depends on the disposable income. You're right. And I'm assuming in that a person who can spend 125 grand, now there could be that they're, somebody who's doing advertising and they're just getting reimbursed or something. They don't have a lot of disposable income, but the assumption is somebody who's spending lots on their cards probably does have disposable income. So that's part of it. For example, you can get a better cent per point for business, but you might not want to spend the extra cash for the higher taxes and fees for business class. Good point. I mean, that's absolutely true. Because some business, I mean, like even when we flew, we talked about flying Air France. I mean, that's $200 just to fly in premium economy. But I mean, it's $200 and then 35,000 points. It's still a good cent per point redemption for a flight that would have been, 1,600 or something like that. So you got to be willing, you got to be able, you got to have the discretionary income to do that. That's a good point. QC man, that's probably cyclical, Rodrigo. He's talking about the fact that now they seem to be tightening down the banks. We're definitely going to see a leaner period, but in a few years, I'm sure it'll swing back unless Congress actually passes a bill to cap credit card fees. Oh boy, we do not want that to happen. I don't even know what will take place if that happens. So yeah, but if that doesn't happen, if the sky doesn't fall, then that's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you, QC man. That's going to be the cycle. Tighten, loosen. Seems to be like it's always been that way. Ron Byrne, that this might be a low spender mindset. Okay, yeah, good observation. Craig says, if you were team cash back, what would be your setup? By the way, hotty toddy. All right. Yeah, it's as far as cash back, I have thought about, you notice I don't put out any videos or anything about cashback setups because in my situation, if I were doing cashback, I'd probably just do something simple. I mean, I'd do Blue Business Plus for 2 or maybe do something with the City Double Cash or something, because to me, I mean, what's that? I mean, you're going to get back 1,000 a year, 2,000 a year. What excites me about it is, last year, we maybe spent a couple $1,000s on fees and stuff. And we took like flights that if I would have paid cash for them would have been 40 grand or something like that. That's exciting for me. That's what makes this hobby exciting. If I were doing cash back for me, it would just be a math equation. And, I probably wouldn't put the energy into this as a hobby that I do. So I know that's probably not a super exciting answer, Craig. But yeah, that's kind of where it would be for me. QC man, recently got the Red Aviator card. If only all subs were that easy. Yeah, I did too. I haven't even got it in the mail yet, but I'm excited about it. I'm just so glad. I did a video recently about how Barclays has really loosened, at least in my case. And I know some people said not in their case, but in my case, they've really loosened up. So I'm excited about that. Glad you got it too, QC man. I mean, easiest one there is. Buy a soda or Coke at a gas station and pay the annual fee, and you got it. It's really, really good. All right, we got 21 in here watching. I told you I'd stay an hour or less, so we got 11 minutes. I'll shut it down before then it's over. But I included this chart. I did a video a while back about my own evaluation because I pretty much don't burn my points on anything except high redemptions. So if I'm going to fly and it's $300 and all I could get is a 1.5 cent per point, I just pay the $300. I mean, that's how I do it. So for me, the cent per point redemption is very much what matters more than anything else. And so what I did is I went through and I mean, I did it extensively. I studied and I was even surprised where they came out. But I did a comparison of what my own cent per point value came out to for 8 different programs versus what the point guy says versus what Award Wallet says for business class value. And so at the bottom was United. And of course, points guy says 1.35, because if you just any flight you fly, that's what the average is going to be. But for me, it was 3.1, which is pretty good. Avianca, they say 1.4. I said 4.4. Air France, they said 1.3. I say 4.5. Air Canada, 4.6 for me. British Airways, 5.3. American, 6.2. Alaska, 7.1. Now, this is the one that's probably not on the list anymore, or at least way farther down. Virgin Atlantic, when I did it, was a crazy. And I mean, I did like, I don't know, dozens of flights, and it came out at 15.9 if you picked the ones that were good value. But they have, in the last week, they've changed their fees and stuff. So I don't even know where they'd be today. This is a little bit dated because of that. But you can see, if you're just using like that's why I just went all in on Alaska, because of that, because 7.1 as an average on their business and first class flights. So this is all to wrap up the idea of this centerpiece today, that you can get great value. But you got to kind of pick and choose. And that's really only going to work for people, as was pointed out in the comments. It's only going to work for people that have some discretionary funds for travel and can save their points for great redemptions. But cent per point, I think, will always outshine how much you earn on the card. So that was the argument I was trying to make, at least. Okay, getting back to some of the comments. There's 19 folks watching in here. Craig says, got Red Aviator and Hawaii card with promo card code that has 60,000 Hawaiian points with one purchase. Oh man, I got the Hawaiian card too, but I think I had to spend 2K or 3K or something to get it. But I got the same 60,000 points. That's awesome. QC man, you should be the points guy. Yeah, my numbers are cooler. There's no doubt about that. But I think they would disagree. But you understand, this is just for people who save their points for good redemptions. I mean, the points guy is averaging all of the point redemption prices. And so when people do that, yeah, I mean, I think he's probably right, because I just don't burn them. I mean, if I see a United domestic flight for 50,000 points, I don't spend 50,000 points on that. That's just, I'll pay the $350 instead, whatever. Craig says, Anthony has a video on how to get the Hawaiian code for one purchase and 60,000 points. Awesome. So anybody, is Anthony Venture. I think that's who you're probably talking about, right? So yeah, check that out if you're interested in that. QC man, oh, that code is still active. Great. That's fire. Ron Byrne, I think you said you worked in academia. Do you work in business or finance? I'm getting a feeling that of a field that's numbers related. Related, I guess you might say. Yes. Craig says, yes, still active. Did it this week. So that's awesome. So Anthony Venture has some, maybe I'm guessing he has a referral code for that. So you can go over there and check that out. All right. We have a few minutes left. Again, thank you, everybody. We have 19 in here, 14 likes. Hit the like if you haven't. I've had 2 people give me super chat, super stickers today. That really helps the channel. Thank you so much for that. I think it was RC and QC man. Thank you guys for that. The next thing, upcoming trip, creators meetup in Puerto Rico. Man, I got my hotel. I got a Hilton in Puerto Rico. And so if any of y'all are going to be there, look forward to seeing you. But man, the flights, they're not good. So these are what I've come up with so far. Yeah, flights, $594 with American. That's really high for American. And then this is a crazy number. 69.5 thousand American miles. That is, I mean, you know what you never see? This. American has a more expensive redemption price than Delta. Delta is $650 or 48.4 thousand points. It just never happens. So then I looked up, well, what if I just did some points, did maybe some transfer partners and stuff. 15,000 with Air Canada and then 18,000 with Air France. So the Air Canada would be flying over on United, Air France would be flying back on Delta. So that comes out to what, 33,000 points. That's probably what I'll do. Southwest, $415. But the problem with that one is I have to fly Southwest. I don't want to do that. Not a fan. Maybe some of you love them. That's fine. Some of my family loves them, but I just don't love them. So this is kind of illustrates a point that I try to make often, and that is specific locations and dates equal poor redemption values. Okay, because I'm having to look for a specific date and a specific place. If this were, I could go anywhere I wanted, anytime in the month of November I wanted, then I promise you these numbers would be very, very different. Very, very, very much better for me than that. So there's that. All right. Let's see. Eurisbu says, hey, TRM. I think that's me, the rewards master. Came in to give you a like. Watching Star Wars with the kids. We'll rewatch later. Hey, priorities, man. I get that. That's good priorities. Cesar Joel, great live. Cesar says, can't wait to meet you during the Puerto Rico meetup. I can't either, man. It's going to be good. QC Man, Southwest Shade. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. QC Man says hello to Cesar. All right. Well, we're at like 56 minutes. So I had some more, but I'll just save them for the next live stream. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. QC Man, RC, thank you for the super sticker, super chat. That really, really, I don't get a lot of those, so it excites me when I do. And so thank you guys for that very, very much. Thank you for everybody that's helped me get to 1,150 when I was only less than 1,000 a week ago. So thank you guys for helping me to do that and all of your support on the channel. Andrew Nature says, I don't like Southwest either. I think a lot of points and miles people don't. I mean, maybe some do. I know that some folks really fly them. I think Stan the Credit Frog, that's the one he always likes to fly. So good for him. It's great. I don't like them. I don't like their system. They're trying to become more like the other airlines, but we'll see if they do. QC Man says, love the work you put into your lives, Rewards Master. Thank you. Thank you. I try to think it out. So appreciate that. All right, y'all. Thank you very much. I'm trying to do these. I don't know that I'll be able to do them every time at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoons, but that's the plan. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for the super chat, super sticker, and just all the support. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. If you haven't liked this video, please do that. It'll help more people to see it. Thanks again. I will see you here next time.